Welcome to Moments with Marianne. I'm so delighted we're spending this time here today. We have a very empowering show coming right up. Now, our first special guest today was Keith Recker, and he was going to share with us his new book, True Colors, World Masters of Natural Dyes and Pigments. Unfortunately, due to some technical difficulties, he will not be joining us today, but we highly suggest that you check out his book. It's available on Amazon and Barnes & Noble and all indie retailers. Again, that's True Colors. So our special guest today is Dr. Marika Lindholm, and she's here to share with us the new book, We Got This, Solo Mom Stories of Grit, Heart, and Humor. Now, Dr. Marika founded ESME.com to ignite a social movement of solo moms. As a trained sociologist, she taught courses of inequality, diversity, and gender at Northwestern University for over a decade. In addition to publishing numerous articles, she's a regular contributor to Psychology Today, Working Mother, Mind Body Green, and Talkspace. She has published essays and fiction in the Daily News, Elephant Journal, The Hill, Miss, Silent Voices, and many more. So let's welcome to the show, Dr. Marika Lindholm.
Thanks for having me.
What an honor it is to have you here and to talk about this new book. I have to ask, what inspired you to just get this book into development and start working on it?
Well, you have to go back to my own history. I was divorced when my kids were 3 and 5, and I was looking for books for the heart and the soul, and all I found were advice books, and I'm an academic, so I read all of those books, of course, but then I was like, I really wanted something deeper. And now flash forward 15 years, and I started a website for single moms because of that experience, and then now we've put together this anthology for what we call solo moms, moms who raise kids on their own. So it really came out of my personal experience, and then love for literature, love for great writing. So yeah, I'm really proud of it.
Well, it's a great book, and I felt that it came very well together. You talk about solo mom. So what is a solo mom?
So a solo mom is anyone who spends time parenting alone. So it could be a divorced mom, mom who's widowed. We also include women whose partners might be deployed or incarcerated, for anyone who's just doing this really hard job of raising kids by themselves. And it's not necessarily every moment of every waking day. There might be a partner who lives far away or close by, but just that you have this great responsibility for your kids. So that's a solo mom.
Well, so this book for our listeners is a collection of 75 single mothers. They've submitted their stories. How did you decide what story would fit?
Yeah, it was quite a journey. We started with essays that had been published on my website, esme.com, and then we solicited original content from our network I worked with 3 other editors who are in the literary community, so we asked solo moms to submit, and then we added some, more prominent writers, for example, Mary Carr, Audre Lorde, Amy Poehler has a piece in there. So we have a really great blend of well-known writers and then those yet to be discovered writers. And then we had to have the difficult task of figuring out, we wanted to represent not only diversity in terms of experience, but diversity in terms of cultural background, and not too much about just divorce and not just widows. So we really had to strike a balance. And then we also had to think about the trajectory of the book. We wanted it end to end on a note of inspiration. And we wanted to also throw in the challenges and about the children. So we really tried to divide it up, using the content and using the best work. And so, yeah, it was a really fun puzzle, actually, because we read so much great stuff, but it was also disheartening that we actually had to, get rid of some of the stuff that was amazing, but we just really wanted to present this very unique array of stories and poems. So yeah, that was, it was fun and challenging.
So why do you think it's important that these stories are told now?
Well, I wish they had been told earlier. We're getting a lot of feedback from some early readers saying, I wish I had this book when I was going through my divorce. I wish I knew this when I was newly widowed. But I think right now it is actually very relevant because we have a lot of moms who are now hitting the age where their biological clock is ticking. So we have an increasing number of solo moms by choice. And then we have continuingly pretty high divorce rate. It's going down a little bit, but then also just, we have some pretty horrible things happening around the nation where opioid crisis is leaving a lot of moms as solo moms. So there's just the reality that 23 million American kids are being raised by solo moms, and we want to honor them and we want to show their stories. And we think that, unfortunately, sometimes politicians, et cetera, might say stigmatize these moms, and these moms are doing a great job. So it's really an honor and a testament to what they do every day.
So do you feel that, through your journey, you've kind of found that single moms are, while they're a diverse group, they're kind of an ignored group as well?
100%. One of the things, the discoveries I've made is that single moms, are often blamed for society's ills, like, oh, their kids, are problematic, or, oh, they're using public assistance. And I've found that not to be true at all. I mean, yes, they are a demographic that faces poverty, but they're also a group that is working really hard, often having 2 jobs, only have 1 child. There's just a lot of stereotypes about single moms. And so I think when we look at policies like family leave, et cetera, I just really felt like by showing their stories, we could have a more rich and nuanced perspective on who these moms are.
So what's a story you'd like to share with us?
There's so many, but I can share, one of the writers is Angela Ricketts, and her spouse was deployed for 3 tours of duty. And on one of those tours, she had a heart attack. She had 3 kids in the house. She was by herself. And, she thought that she was having an anxiety attack. And it's a really just half funny, half tragic story of then her getting herself to the hospital and actually having a heart attack. And then there's some pretty funny stories. There's one by Evie Tuck, who's a actress in LA, and she is a funny story about her sexting while she's at her kid's soccer game. So she's sexting while she's like handing out, oh, here, good job, here's a water bottle. So it's a real array of stories that will break your heart and some that will just make you laugh out loud.
It's interesting because a lot of times when we think about, solo moms, you talked about this a little bit earlier, that there's a lot of women are making the choice to be solo moms while others are being put into that position without any choice. Do you think that this is kind of a growing trend?
Yeah, it is. I mean, I'm a sociologist. I can tell you that it is a growing trend. There's just, an increasing number of moms, particularly in California and New York, and it's spreading across the country, that just are like, I really want to be a mom and I haven't found the perfect partner yet. And often, they'll find the partner after. It's, being a solo mom is something that is pretty likely in many women's lives. It doesn't mean it's something that you're always going to be, but, many of us have long trajectories of, being married and, unmarried and remarried. And so I think it's just a American reality. And, I want to go back to just the hard work that they do every day. And I want to just show that they're really doing a great job with our kids. I mean, a lot of amazing people are raised by solo moms, Barack Obama and Trevor Noah, et cetera, et cetera. We just have a lot of great adults coming from being raised by solo moms. And so I feel like it's pretty great for them to be able to have a book that they can pick up, put down. It doesn't require that you invest in one long novel, et cetera. You can, be exhausted at night and get a sense of that your experience is being acknowledged.
So what are some of the noted authors that you have that are listed in the book?
Elizabeth Alexander, Mary Carr, Audre Lorde, Anne Lamott, Amy Poehler. There's quite a few. Dorian Lau is a wonderful poet, and Dominica Ruda, who is actually one of the co-editors, is a wonderful New York Times bestselling author. And then we have, Jennifer Baumgardner is another well-known, Adrienne Rich. I mean, I'm just kind of going through there's so many. We always laugh about, there's so many different stories. But just Ruth Stone. I mean, we have some that unfortunately are no longer with us. Kelly Sundberg, who wrote an amazing piece about being facing domestic violence, and her piece went viral and then ended up in Best American Short Essays, and now she has a novel out. So there's a number of writers here who I feel that are on the verge of just being discovered too. And that's kind of fun to watch them. And in fact, one of the pieces we have, I just found out, a woman named Rachel Sarah, that her essay is going to be turned into a movie. So I'm like, cool.
That's awesome.
Yeah. So, and it's a lovely piece about how her daughter led her to really being open and willing to take the chance on getting remarried again, because her daughter fell so in love with her fiance and kind of opened her heart to that. So, we have different stages of the journey.
Well, you also have different chapters that address, different topics. What are some of those topics that are covered in the book?
Well, what we did was we have each chapter as a song title. So, like, for example, the first chapter is "The Kids Are All Right." We want to, express that, your kid's going to be okay. And then "Lean on Me" is self-explanatory. "A Day in the Life" is sort of just laying out some of the things that happen. And then there's "Good Morning Heartache," which of course is more tricky. "Isn't It Romantic" is all about the woes of dating, and there's a lot of really funny pieces in there. And then we end with "Here Comes the Sun," which is the inspirational, like, you've got this, you can do it. We're not denying the tough stuff. We have some pretty hard pieces in there. There's one about losing a partner to mental illness and the impact on her child. There's one about, someone waiting for her dad to come home. That's when "The Kids Are All Right." And ultimately her mom saying, we're not going to, we're not going to wait around for this guy anymore, and sort of cutting off that relationship. So there's, writing about having an incarcerated partner. So lots of themes, but we tried to put them together in a framework that people could decide what kind of mood they were in. If you want something heavy, go to read the chapter "Good Morning Heartache." If you want something more inspirational, then "Here Comes the Sun" is what you should be reading.
Well, it seems that you cover some very difficult issues, but I can see where it's very relative, because, people can, pick up the book, they can find a chapter that works for them and then kind of read about it. And it might not be exactly what they're going through, but maybe parts of it is.
Yeah, I think there's some common threads for all solo moms, and the strongest thread is the responsibility to their kids, how deeply and fiercely they love their children, and how much they'll do to make sure their kids are okay. And that is a common thread that I think is, just woven throughout the book. And then, just the issues of required resilience, that, you might be feeling like you're falling apart sometimes, but that you have to hold it together. You have to pull yourself up because of your children.
So what are some of the stigmas that you hope that this book will break?
Well, first and foremost, that, this idea that single moms, solo moms are lazy or have, just a desire to have children to be on public assistance, or that their kids are somehow, there's problematic. So I just think that there's these stereotypes that have been swirling for years about single motherhood. And I actually have found that single moms are generous and hardworking and help each other. Even when they're super down and out, they're like raising a hand to help the other. And I can prove that because I run a website with, almost 1 million single moms have been on it. And I see what they do for each other. And it's just, and I hope that the stories in the book will inspire people to see the complexity of what they're coping with and how they do it with, love and resilience. And so it's just showing that even though there's so much diversity in terms of race, class, cultural background, that there's still this just commonality of wanting the best for their kids and just facing these challenges head on.
Well, it seems that these are issues that no matter where we are, people are concerned about their children. They want to have the best for them. They want to have a great life. And I felt that We Got This has a lot of inspiration for people looking, regardless if they're solo moms or maybe solo dads or, in a relationship, that they can pick it up and find inspiration.
Yeah, that's the thing about this book is that you don't necessarily even have to be a solo mom to appreciate what the experience is, and also the great writing and just being inspired. I mean, you're right. It's pretty human to want the best for your family, the best for your loved ones. And so, and, the variety of experiences, whether it's, a heart attack while being alone, or, um, having a relative with mental illness, or, we have a suicide or whatever it is. I mean, we all have these hardships that we have to go through, and we want to do them with as much grace as we can. And I think that anyone will find inspiration from these moms.
Now, you talked about some of the really tough topics. Do you have also topics that are a little bit lighter? Maybe there's a story you'd like to share that's a little funnier.
Well, there's, like I said, the dating one seems to have some funny ones where, for example, one of the women went on a date, and it's a first date, and he went off to the restroom, and she texted her sister like, "Oh, why does it?" And she really liked him. She was like, "Oh, this is hopeful," but she thought she didn't have her glasses on, and she thought she was texting her sister. Said, "Oh, it seems like all I date are losers." So she texted the guy who was in the bathroom by mistake. And of course, she didn't really have this feeling about, she didn't have that feeling about him, but, and I think it's called Can't Undo This One. I'm trying to remember the name of it, but it's just, it's just one of those things, like we've all been in that situation with the texting. We're like, oh man. And so he came back to the table, was very polite. And she's like, "Oh, did you read the text?" And he's like, "Yeah." So that didn't go anywhere, but that's one of the funny stories. And there's I'm trying to think. There's also, like I said, about the soccer game, and she's texting this guy, and just the joys of, even parenting a child with special needs, knowing like that it's difficult, but then there's so much joy with it. And then, for example, Kathleen Lacanoli writes a piece about raising a boy, and she didn't know how to, she wanted to relate with him. She wanted to have male role models, and then how, after all these struggles, she finally found the male role models in the surf shop, and how surfing not only made it, allowed this boy to find himself, but then she ended up surfing and connected with him. So, there's heartwarming stories in here too of connection it's not just all, trauma and tragedy, but there's some beautiful stories about just hope and, the fun stuff. There's a really funny one called Coming Out Pregnant by Stacey Ann Chin, who, she's a lesbian who, she's pregnant, and she talks about meeting people in the elevator, and they're like, "What?" They're so confused. And she's actually a hilarious writer. So it's all about sort of, the people's reactions to her as a lesbian who's pregnant. And so I love that story too.
Well, it seems that you have a little something in this book for everybody.
We really tried. We really tried.
Well, Marika, where can people connect with you and learn not just about your book, but be part of your community as well?
Well, so the book, you can learn about events, and it's called WeGotThisBook.com is our website, WeGotThisBook.com. And then the larger website is called ESME.com. It's Empowering Solo Moms Everywhere, ESME.com. And we're on Twitter, Pinterest, Instagram, Facebook, so we're pretty easy to find, but the community is very welcoming and supportive. So we encourage any mom who's solo, and even if temporary solo, to join us and check us out. And of course, we'd like everyone to read our book, because we think it's awesome.
Of course. Well, Marika, thank you so much for taking the time to be on the show with us here today.
I really appreciate the opportunity. Thank you.
Well, Dr. Marika, it has been such an honor to spend this time with you, and of course to talk about the new book, We Got This, Solo Mom Stories of Grit, Heart, and Humor. Again, if you'd like to connect with Dr. Lindholm and learn more about this community, you can at WeGotThisBook.com for more information. Well, we're at the end of our time today. I would like to thank everyone for tuning in. You're listening to Moments with Marianne. And remember, make every moment count.
In a single moment, your life can change. Moments with Marianne is a transformative hour that covers an endless array of topics with the best of the best. Her guests are leaders in their fields, ranging from inspirational authors, top industry leaders, and business and spiritual entrepreneurs. Each guest is gifted and a true visionary, a recognized leader in her own work, and while teaching others to develop, refocus, and grow, Marianne will bring the best guest and sometimes a special surprise. Don't miss this. You never know just which moment will change your life forever. Moments with Marianne airs every Sunday, Monday, Thursday, and Friday at 8 p.m. Eastern and 5 p.m. Pacific Time. Make sure to tune in and visit momentswithmarianne.com for more information.